Hey everybody, welcome to ACB Advocacy Update, a special video edition. As always, if you have any advocacy issues, please reach out to us at advocacy@acb.org. But today we have a special edition that I'm going to bop it over to Swatha to introduce.
Hi, it's Swatha, everybody. Today, we have Scott Thornhill, our executive director. Hi, Scott, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Very good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're just here to meet our new executive director, the very own Scott Thornhill. So Scott, do you want to start by just introducing yourself? Where are you from? Tell us your life story.
My whole life story?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I can start from the very beginning. I was born, I was a child living in the, I currently live in North Carolina, but relocating to Alexandria soon to be here at the ACB offices on a regular basis. But grew up in North Carolina for the most part. Moved there when I was 5 years old after being born in Virginia, but high school and all that. Went to college in Greensboro, North Carolina, at Guilford College, and then stuck around the Greensboro area. My wife and I have had a real estate brokerage for about 20 years now. And so, but I'm no longer active in real estate. I still have my broker's license, but I'm not active. But for the last 5.5 years, I've been with Alpha Point, which is part of the National Industries for the Blind network and part of the Ability One program as their director of public policy. And so I'm glad to be here at ACB and excited about what we have going on.
Wonderful.
Great. So Scott, this is on your first time in policy. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, policy, is interesting. I came out of, again, sort of the real estate world, but I served on the board at Industries of the Blind in Greensboro, which is also part of the NIB network and the Ability One program. But as often happens, I was the only blind member of the board, and so I really got involved and wanted to be an advocate for the employees and different things that were going on. And I attended a lot of the national conferences, many different types of conferences, and learned a lot about not only the Ability One program, but just sort of the blindness field and various pieces of legislation and things that were going on. So when the opportunity was offered to me to work with Alpha Point in a policy role, I was very excited about that. And so I've enjoyed the policy part. I will tell you, I am I love relationship building and just bringing more people in to support the things we have going on. So that tends to cover the board of development, policy, other components of what we do. So I will leave it to the two of you to handle most of our policy stuff, but I can help where needed and join in.
So Scott, employment is definitely one of the areas of policy we work in, but we are blessed, or other words, to have our hands in all kinds of different policy, from transportation to social security. Are you excited about the work we do in other areas?
I really am. So employment was a big part of what I worked on previously. So workforce development and successful job placements and sort of opening up new pathways for people who are blind and visually impaired to get jobs, because as the number we throw around, right, that 70% of people who are blind are not working. I'm always careful how I say that. It's not an unemployment rate per se, but it's not working. And there are reasons for that, right? Some people don't necessarily want to work. Some people maybe have multiple disabilities, and it's really, really challenging. Or the other part of that is people who don't, they just don't think it's possible. And I think that's,
or they're never encouraged.
They're never encouraged, and they've kind of lost hope to some extent. And I think that's the group where we can really make a difference on employment, but beyond employment, but as you mentioned, these other things also touch employment. We often focus on employment because we see that as a way people to participate more in their community and to be a part of things and provide for their families and sort of live a life that they choose to live, right? Go on vacation or do what you want to do. But transportation, education, these other barriers often sort of get in the way, or obstacles, challenges to overcome would be a positive way of looking at it, right? Is can affect employment, but they all sort of work together. And so it's very difficult to hold down a job if you, again, don't have those activities of daily living that we talked about. Orientation ability with a cane. How do you travel by yourself? How do you get around? But then also, you guys, I don't know this, but people who that have disabilities are employed at a lower percentage at every education level.
Yeah.
So it's important to get education, but it almost, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. It certainly matters. But you can have the education, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be employed. So I'm excited to work. Social Security is one of those things that, wow, if we could get a resolution there. You know, people often talk about Social Security is the one thing you don't touch, right? The third rail or whatever, you know, don't touch it. But in our case, I think it is definitely something we want to not just touch, but something we want to try to get a resolution to, because so many more people would be willing to take promotions. They'd be
Yeah.
willing to do all kinds of things
Yeah.
if they wouldn't lose their benefits, right? So, yeah, I am excited to be able to work on more of those issues.
Wonderful.
Yeah, moving on from emerging policy, so what kind of drove you to join ACB, kind of the new executive director?
So a few things. I believe ACB is really positioned well within the bees, if we want to call it that. But in the nonprofit community, and especially with organizations focused on blindness and visual impairment, is that ACB has a history, but we currently are in a position where I do think we can bring some groups together and really help to build a coalition. And I know that some of those coalitions are already being worked on and are already in place, where some other organizations are bringing folks together as well. But what we tend to do is sort of argue is probably not the word, but we can disagree on some of the details of how something can be done, and then it can stop us from moving forward on a particular issue. And so I'm hopeful, and I truly believe that ACB is in a good position with our membership and having this network of members around the country and even internationally now, that we can do that. And plus, frankly, I'm going to tell you, and this is totally self-serving for you guys, is, you know, just like the two of you and being in policy is very exciting to me, and having a team that I, you know, have faith in that can really do a lot of great work. So I think it's a small staff, but my goodness, how much gets done by such a small number of people.
Small but mighty.
Small. Yeah, that's a.
So Scott, I'll put you in the hot seat a little bit, because that's always fun. But I know you have a background in business, you know, you just talked about real estate. We live in a world, we're a nonprofit, and we bring in pretty much all of our money through fundraising and that kind of thing. What are some of your ideas? Are you excited about, you know, finding more corporations to work with, more fundraising? Do you have any new ideas?
I am excited about that, and part of it is I really enjoy messaging. So I enjoy whether it's policy or it's development, you know, / fundraising, whatever the area is. I believe that messaging is crucially important. Being able to tell the stories of the individuals who are affected by fundraising. And also affected by policy. They all fit together like a puzzle for me, Claire. So I think about, you know, when we speak to someone, you know, an elected official, or more often probably a staff member, is, you know, how is this policy we're talking about going to affect an individual? It's one thing to say it affects an entity, or that it affects a, you know, this number of people, and you have a large number. But if you can say that, you know, just throwing out a name, if I can say that you know, a Joe or a Bob or a Sally or somebody, you know, how it really affects their life and how it would change their life. And I think the same is true, I believe the same is true for development and fundraising, is those messages to the corporations, because oftentimes we kind of make the argument, not we as an ACB, but we in the nonprofit world will often make the argument, it's sort of the right thing to do, right? You should support us. And it's that charitable sort of approach. It's the right thing to do for you to support us, and you will feel good if you support us. So sure, I want people to support us so that they want to feel good, but I also want them to support us because it's smart on their part. Because you've got about 20% of the population that has a disability of some sort, right? So if you cut out in various ways, whether it's vision, mobility, cognitive, whatever it might be, if you cut out 20% of your potential customers, that's not good for a business. And what we're finding is that the businesses who actually make an effort to show their support of people with disabilities, you're not just showing people with disabilities that, you're showing family members of people with disabilities, you're showing even people who maybe disability hasn't touched their lives, but they want to support a company that cares, that really does see the potential in people. And so I am excited about the opportunities we've got.
That's great.
Nice. What's it about that? So it's a moral imperative support a good policy, not split at us. So kind of going broadly from there's the corporate and fundraising aspect of your job. What are your goals, your dreams, and jobs, dreams?
Dreams for me or for people who,
This job.
for
For
me?
ACB,
Man,
yeah.
oh, for ACB, I was like, okay, dreams for me, I don't know. I have to ask my wife, what things should I be dreaming about? For ACB, what I would say is we have this, incredible, group of individuals, our members. Um, pushing 8,000 members, again, across the United States and even internationally now. And so what has happened over the last few years, as many ACB members know, are the community calls, the community meetings that are going on. And I've already been amazed just in the short time I've been with ACB. It's just what I'm hearing, the emails I'm getting from people, the being in some of these different, the hump day happy hour, or the, being on different podcasts and being a part of different meetings. I'm just truly encouraged about what I hear from people and just the camaraderie and how people are coming together. So sort of the dream for me for ACB is that after a 62 going on 63-year history of an organization, that ACB sort of, we start to look at sort of what is the next 60 years going to look like, right? The younger individuals who are blind or visually impaired, what are they looking for? And these young people that have had technology in their hands since the day they were born almost, and since they were very young, I didn't have a mobile phone until I was a little bit older, just based on when things became prevalent, but sort of keeping up and how do we look at the future and strategize about the future. So that's where I'm excited, because I believe with that membership and the history and the knowledge that we have within the organization, we can really lay out a framework and a strategy for the next, maybe not 60 years. I might get some pushback if I ask the board or others for a 60-year plan, but 10, 5, 3, that sort of thing. So I'm just excited about what we can do in growth from the groundwork they already have. So
That's really exciting, as Swatha and I are considered what they call the next generation. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, we're the next generation. That's right. Yeah, you all, I mean, it truly is, because the things that are sort of groundbreaking, right? It's like you have people that might look at a piece of technology that have been AC members for a long time and are a little bit older, that are looking at a piece of technology and thinking, gosh, would I use that, right? And they may not, because they may not be in a part, maybe they're retired, maybe they're not. But if you're in your career and we're talking about employment and getting more people involved in the community and voting and these different things, technology has become such a big part of that. That how do we sort of make sure and really have a seat at the table with these companies that are creating the technology, so that it's baked in up front for people and it doesn't have to be added on later. To me, that's another very important point, is when we can get it built in up front, then you don't have to try to tack it on later and it gets kind of wonky. And so I want us to have a seat at the table, because that's how we're going to get more individuals who are younger, I believe, engaged.
That's wonderful. Okay, well, we won't keep you here all day, Scott, but one of the fun things I love to ask people, just to get to know you a little bit better. So let's end on this. Is there one or two fun facts about Scott Thornhill that we can learn?
Oh man, one or two fun facts. Oh boy, I bet there's probably a few that I don't even realize would be fun facts.
Talents, family members.
I do like karaoke. Cindy Hollis, she and I have already spoken about it. I enjoy some karaoke. I will not say that I am good at it, but I do enjoy some. I like to have a good time. Here's my thought, and not to be totally philosophical as we talk about this, but frankly, life is relatively short, and on the timeline, on the great timeline of history, right? Our time is done. So I do want to have fun and enjoy, and at the same time, right, we're getting a lot of things accomplished. But if you're not enjoying doing it or enjoying being with the people that you're doing that with, then it can really make those things tedious. So I hope to be able to just kind of lighten up, meetings occasionally and just have a good time. But I won't say that's necessarily a fun fact about me. It's just the way that I like to do things. I really love brain teasers. That's probably something people don't. I love to think about, not being able to really see games necessarily or whatever. Having played sports when I was younger, I enjoy trying to find some ways to be competitive.
Okay,
So,
a
you know,
competitive nature, okay.
when I can find there was a few little blind, sort of friendly games on the iPhone that I would play and still do occasionally. And, my wife got me a chess board that has, some tactile
Yes.
components to it. So I'm trying to get better at that, but, yeah, those are probably, just a few, not the most exciting. I love, and here's one that I love a good, how about this for just obscure? I love a good wood burning fire, the smell of a wood burning fire.
Okay.
So we have a fire pit, back at our home in North Carolina, so I'm hoping the place that I find here in Alexandria, right? Most people probably wouldn't put down fire pit as one of their must-haves in an outdoor area in an apartment complex or something, but I just sort of enjoy that calm time because we can get so caught up in all the things we're doing on a day-to-day basis that, taking a little time to reflect,
Yeah.
that's often when the best ideas come to me.
I love that.
So, yeah.
Well, Scott, you are known, so.
By a few people, I've always,
Well, thank you so much, and I have a feeling you will be back, so don't you worry. We will
I'll
put
love
you in front of the mic /
anytime.
recording in the future.
You guys are super. I'm happy to be here anytime.
Great, yes, and as always, folks, keep advocating.
Thank you.
You're done.